there is one super minor thing that all great horsemen do that you can start doing today that will transform your relationship with your horse and any horse you work with from this moment forward. And I am going to show it to you right now. Hi, I'm Ruby. I'm a whole horse stewardship trainer, and I have helped horses and humans just like you to have a deeper bond and better relationship for over 10 years. I'm coming to you today from home because it is just too hot at the barn, and I much prefer my air conditioning. So here we are. And so I don't have my horse to demonstrate with you today, but I did make a really interesting video where I mentioned this very briefly, and I will make sure it's linked here as well as in the description below. So if you want to check that out in real time, watching me actually work with a horse, go watch that video. But I'm going to be elaborating on something here that I just barely touched on there, but I think deserves a lot more airtime. And that is the concept of body language. So horses communicate almost exclusively through body language. They are not verbal creatures. They don't talk very much. If you haven't noticed, like you can be in a barn all day long and rarely hear a horse actually whinny or call out to another horse. But what they do is they're constantly using body language. It's these tiny little flicks of the ear or side eye or raising the head up and down or the way that they stand with their feet. All of these things mean something to the horses around them. And you can really tell the people that have been around horses a long time can pick up on this body language instantly without even really thinking twice about it. And people that are a little bit greener, newer to horses, they might not notice some of these warning signs that something's about to happen. And so one really important thing that we can do in ourselves is to be a little bit more intentional with how we use our own bodies and how we're communicating with our horses through our own body language as we're working with our horse at the barn, on the ground, in the saddle. It doesn't really matter. It all applies. One quick thing, if I can interrupt here to ask you a little favor. Anytime that you interact with these videos, that kind of nudges the algorithm into realizing that people are finding it helpful. So if you're finding this video helpful, I would really appreciate a genuine like, a comment, a subscribe, or if you could just share this video with somebody that you know that would also benefit. My goal is really just to help people and to give you the information that I think can transform your relationship with your horse. So if you would just take a moment to do that, please, and then let's get on with the rest of this video. So the biggest thing that is the really big difference here, and this is something that I think is really hard, especially for women, is this concept of kind of bringing the life up in your body, taking up a bit of space, and then being a little bit smaller and shrinking away. So a lot of women, I find, have been taught from the time we're really young kids that this makes us good. This posture of kind of a little bit more protective makes us polite, it makes us deferential, it makes us kind. And this taking up this space, even though this is a very slight difference, just this bigger posture where we look a little bit more in command and control, this makes us somehow bossy, it makes us rude, it makes us arrogant. Comment below what associations you have with this like body language that makes you a little bit bigger versus this body language that makes you a little bit smaller. And let me know, because I think the more I talk to women about this, the more I realize how systemic this really is, that we have internalized these beliefs about just this change in our posture, what this says versus what this says about us. And so what's really interesting, though, is our horses also have a lot of thoughts about what that body language says, but it's not what we think. So a horse, when a horse has something to say to another horse, they get into this a little bit larger, more upright frame. They take up a little bit more space. They bring a little bit of life up in their body. And this could be both an alert to danger, as well as could be playful, as well as could be, hey, move off my hay pile, right? It could be any number of things. But if a horse has something to say to another horse, they're going to get into this posture. It's a little bit bigger space, holding a bit more space in their body. And when a horse has nothing to say and they're relaxed and they're being maybe a bit more passive, or they're just like, oh, nothing to say right now, no communication needed, they're going to come into this smaller body language. And this is when the head's going to drop. And you'll notice they can be in a big body language with their head on the ground, but you'll see there's a little side eye and there's an ear and there's like this kind of posture in their body where they're like, I'm got my head down, but I'm ready to do something, right? Of course, I'm not horse shaped, so this looks a little different. There's many ways that this could look. And I would encourage you to go spend a little bit of time watching your own horse in all of these different shapes and just notice like when your horse kind of takes this more life in their body, this little bit bigger space, and when they kind of shrink away a little bit, and notice what that means. So in humans, we think about this as being bossy and this as being passive, or we think about this as being kind and this as being maybe like kind of bulldozery, right? Like we've got all these different connotations, but horses just say, this is I have something to say, and this is I have nothing to say. And that's it. And then the actions that follow are what I'm saying. So I can be here and I can be like, let's play. Or I can be here and I can be like, get out of my way. Or I can be here and I can be like, I don't know, whatever else, you name it, whatever a horse might need to say, right? But if a horse has something to say, they're here. And if the horse has nothing to say, they're here. And often this is also like listening, like, oh yeah, sorry, my bad, you're a hay pile, I'll go over there. But you can watch that same exact horse do this here and then turn to the next horse and be like, can I have this hay pile though? And so they're constantly shifting between the big and the small and the big and the small and life up and life down and life up and life down. And we don't do this as much. We will ask a horse to back up and we'll be in this posture. And then we wonder why our horse doesn't go backwards. Or we will be in this posture and walk up and be like, hey, friend. And we wonder why our horse walks away, right? Because our horse is interpreting this as get out of my space or move, or I'm trying to tell you something. And our horse is interpreting this as I have nothing to say. And so just that one little change can make such a big difference. So I would encourage you to go play with your horse with this a little bit. You can do this even off the line in turnout if you want, or you can do this while you're riding, but just play a little bit with, ask your horse something really simple, like to back up out of your space, and ask with this body language, and then ask again with this body language and see the difference. And then walk up to your horse to try to pat them on the neck with this body language and see what happens. And then walk up to your horse to try to pat them on the neck with this more passive, quiet body language and see what happens. And just study this a little bit and play with it and try it both, riding and on the ground, and just see what this does. Because I really feel like the more you practice this and the ability to, within a split second, to switch between this and this, the more you're going to be able to communicate to your horse clearly and effectively exactly what you're looking for, which will also help your horse. Could you imagine? So the human example of this that comes to mind is, let's say I walk up to you and I say, hey, can you please take out the trash? Right? There's two ways you could interpret that. You could interpret that as me just purely asking, can you please go take out the trash? Or you could interpret that, depending on the tone in my voice, as the trash was supposed to get taken out yesterday and you never did it, and now I need you to go do it. And I'm beating around the bush. I'm being indirect, but I'm actually kind of angry that you didn't take the trash out yesterday, right? And so what could end up happening for our horses, if we're using the wrong body language at the wrong moment with the wrong question, the wrong ask, is that we could inadvertently let our horses to believe that we are being untrustworthy or not worthy of their respect, because we're sending them mixed messages all the time. And so it can lead them to feel like our word has no integrity, that we're saying one thing, but our body's saying another. And so we're confusing our horse and we're making it hard for them to believe us. And so if we can get these things congruent, if we can get our body language and our aids, or our body language and our communication, our ask or request of our horse, to be lined up and to match, and to know when to go to a passive body language that says, I don't need anything from you right now, and when to go to a bigger body language that says, I'm talking to you and I need you to pay attention, our horse will suddenly start paying attention at the right times. And our aids can get more subtle and we'll start getting the results we're looking for, all because we change this one thing in our posture. So I challenge you to go give it a try. Again, I'll link that video below. And until next time, make sure to hug your horse for me.